While it might be easy to think that the complete fool is probably the worst form of a fool in the book of Proverbs, what the Proverbs actually reserve their most scathing rebukes for is the mocker. In some translations, it's also called the scoffer. Essentially, this person is the person who is dismissive of wisdom. Compared to like the fool, where they're just pursuing things that aren't wise. The mocker or the scoffer actually looks at things that are wise and starts to criticize them without actually engaging them. Just recently, I was reading a text from 2 Peter, where Peter tells us that in the last days there will be scoffers who look at Christians and say, "You've been waiting for your Jesus to come back for 2,000 years. Sure seems like he's not coming." It's a pretty good example of scoffing. It refuses to look at the evidence of how long it takes for God to act in the past. It refuses to look at the evidence for Jesus' resurrection, or his word being true, or his ability to predict the future, or God's mercy, any of these things. It refuses to do that. It just looks at one metric, one that it can understand, and says, therefore, the whole argument is foolish. When actually, in that case, the argument is immensely wise. But this isn't just reserved for religious things, although the Proverbs are going to be particularly concerned with that. The person who is the arrogant mocker is really a person who refuses to engage any other argument than the one that they already believe. I think it's pretty obvious to notice this type of person today, especially in our age of media sound bites and social media posts. People will scoff at each other's arguments. Now, their arguments might be completely foolish, completely wrong, completely factually incorrect. But what we've exposed about ourselves as a culture is that we are incapable of actually engaging those arguments and helping the other person see their foolishness rather than just throwing it under the bus or telling everyone this is a stupid opinion or this is characteristic of pick your demographic or your people group that you just want to blame. This is true of liberals, or this is true of conservatives, or that's Antifa, or that's Proud Boys, or that's white people, or that's black people, or that's women, or that's men. Only those type of people say that. That's mocking. It's scoffing. It's an arrogant belief that you are right and no other piece of information could possibly change your mind. I've said this before, but I think it's really telling. When a person is incapable of engaging a conversation about a topic that they don't believe in, or a piece of evidence that they find is untrue, they show that they don't actually really truly believe what they say they believe. They just want to believe what they say they believe. But they're not convinced. They haven't seen enough evidence. And they're scared that they're going to be exposed. What you'll find is in the scoffer or the mocker, what will seem like pride or confidence, but is really a front because they don't really believe what they say they believe. And so again, for us as Christians, we ought to think about our own faith. We believe Jesus rose from the dead. We believe that he is coming back. We believe that the bread and the wine is Jesus' body and blood, that baptism saves, that the forgiveness of sins is unconditionally given by grace and received through faith. We believe that all the miracles in the scripture happened, but what we all need to have is a solid understanding of why we believe those things. Why do you believe the Bible? Do you know? What did Jesus actually do on earth? Do you have a children's Bible version of that story? Or do you have the details? Have you examined some of the tough things that Jesus said so that you can kind of understand the nuance of the easier things that he said? See, we can quickly devolve into mockers and scoffers ourselves, even though we do have the truth of the scriptures. So, know what you believe and why you believe it. And then know it so well that you're willing to engage another person in a conversation about that topic. That's how to grow up.